Okay.
And
You okay with them here?
I don't care.
Okay.
well, I'm gonna step
Hi,
aside
everyone.
so she's not seeing me stare at her as well.
I actually can't see you at all, so
I
it
feel
wouldn't
bad
really
for
matter.
Because your hair matches the light.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's why it's
Okay,
like
so
a
that's why
floating.
He can't
All
see
right,
you at all.
next how's that?
Okay. You came up with this idea. Why?
So I was actually set up with this idea for my senior thesis project at the Cleveland Institute of Art. So for your Bachelor of Fine Arts, they tell you to find a solution to a problem using what you have learned in school. And I studied biomedical art and educational game design. And I looked at a lot of things, and they tell you that the best BFA projects come out of something that you are passionate about and have experience in. And so the summer before my senior year, I thought a lot about what I'd been through medically and other ways, just trying to come up with some idea. And eventually, a little bit into the year, I think I wanted to do something with like dental health, or like I didn't know what I wanted to do. And a couple of weeks into the year, it struck me that the reason I feel like I was able to get so far is because I went through biofeedback very early, and I remember hating it. But the motivation for me was to get over the tics. I mean, my tics were very aggressive head jerks, so I would get these headaches that were just very painful. I also had a tic where I spit a lot, and it's kind of, it's not something you want to grow up doing. And so when I was 9, our parents put us through biofeedback, and I learned how to overcome those overactive brainwaves. It was just really boring. So I remember thinking, why wouldn't I take this therapy that I went through that was so beneficial and use the power of gamification, because I was learning educational game design, and try to teach someone how to control their heart rate. So I decided to do heart rate biofeedback rather than doing a Tourette's-based or overactive brainwaves, because there are already games out there for overactive brainwaves in a very clinical setting, and heart rate just seemed to be such a big problem where it can make such a big impact for so many kids. And there's already also a lot of games out there for adults. Not a lot, but they exist. And so it just seemed to be a really good solution that hadn't been done yet.
And what difference did it make for you? You said it made a difference. What's the difference?
For my biofeedback for my Tourette's, the difference, so what came out of me doing biofeedback was I learned how to calm my overactive brainwaves and calm my tics. So not only did I not have these awful headaches, but I was able to be more confident and talk to people. I mean, even as a 9-year-old, you get scared trying to make friends. And I feel like I had an extra layer on top of that, because I remember a couple of years, probably in like 5th or 6th grade, talking to some of my friends I had known since 4th grade, and them telling me that, like, oh yeah, when we first met, I wasn't sure if you liked me because you rolled your eyes at me a lot. And, thinking back, I'm like, oh yeah, that wasn't my fault, but had I had that problem for so long, I think getting over that was a big benefit.
And how do you think Sea Life will help children today in a sort of new and improved, or for this era, compared to what you did when you were a child?
I think Sea Life will help a lot more kids than just those with specific problems. I think that anxiety is such a prevalent problem, and I think everyone has, not maybe everyone, but I think that so many people have anxiety, especially when it's not even talked about. And Sea Life is going to be a game that anyone can play to help you overcome anxiety, and that helps you be more confident. It helps you think more clearly in situations, and essentially just not be inhibited by your nerves.
You have been the kid you're trying to help, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've been in that situation where, I mean, I didn't know that I needed help, but luckily my parents did. And put me through that. The motivation for me, because with biofeedback, there's no medication involved, so there's no side effects, but there's also no benefit unless you actively participate and pay attention. And that's really hard to do for a child when it's not engaging. So we're just using the power of game design to engage a child long enough for biofeedback to be successful.
And a 6-year-old, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we sounds young, but explain the ripple effect. If you can get to a 6-year-old that is having, I don't know if issues is the right word, but maybe starting to have issues, what's the benefit? Why a 6-year-old, and what's the benefit if you can get to a 6-year-old?
There are a couple of reasons that I chose the audience I did when I made the game design. First of all, there's a lot going on around the age of 5 or 6. Psychologically, it's the first recognition of peer pressure. So when you're 4 or 5, you start to recognize that other people may be different, around the age of 3 or 4, you start to recognize that someone else might be different from you. And you can start to say like, oh, this person has a different color hair, or this person is really the tallest person in the class. And then around the age of 5 or 6, you can start to turn that around and think, oh, if I'm thinking that about other people, someone might be thinking like, what's different about me? And that's the first inkling of peer pressure. So at the age of 6, you have psychologically the first inkling of peer pressure. Coincidentally, that's also the first time you're being thrown amongst your peers for the first time in your life. So in kindergarten, you might be away from your parents for a half day, sometimes a full day, but kindergarten and first grade is when kids are really thrown amongst their peers for the first time. And it's also the time that they're first able to recognize peer pressure. So there's a lot of anxiety going on that they don't know how to talk about, and they show it in a lot of different ways. I also like the idea of helping a 6-year-old because by definition, kids have the rest of their lives ahead of them. So if we can make 1 degree of change in their life trajectory, that can make a huge impact on everything up until their adult lives. You know, heart rate control, once you learn it, it's like riding a bike and you have it forever.
To explain how the game, so I'm picturing here, we may be showing a little of the game.
Yeah.
So explain how the game works
Yeah.
and why it works.
So Sea Life is an underwater adventure game, and your heart rate is taken from a Fitbit, and the visuals of the game change to reflect your heart rate, allowing you to see it and therefore learn how to control it. So for example, if your heart rate is calm and controlled, the game is clear and happy. The main character, it's a fish named Finn, his facial expressions actually react to your heart rate as well. So you're playing on the empathy of children. And then if your heart rate rises, if you start to get nervous or overly excited, the game gets darker and Finn gets sad. It becomes more difficult to play, more challenging. And then there's other benefits we wove in to encourage the child to want to stay calm.
And so let's flip around a little. You're not playing on. You're working with, because we don't want to play on the empathy of children. We want to work with the empathy of children.
Good catch.
So how does the game work with the empathy of children?
The game works with the empathy of children by having the main characters' facial expressions also reflected of their heart rate. So if they are calm and controlled, the game is clear and happy. And if their heart rate rises, then the game gets darker and hard to play. You can't see obstacles coming in advance as much. It's more difficult, and the character gets a little bit nervous, and that's really working with the empathy of the child.
But it also it's I don't want the game to sound dark.
Yeah.
Okay. So the game is it an encouraging game? How would you describe it? Does it encourage?
Yeah, the game encourages the child to be calm by giving them, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sorry, Rock's playing with Coco.
Oh,
Hey,
God.
you're
Come on
good.
in, Lauren.
Sorry.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Does the game have like a main character, or is there like
Finn.
a story about?
Finn. Yeah, we're working on the story.
Hi, Lauren. What's up, Mom? Are you going to the baseball game tomorrow?
So we're literally rolling. You can go through. So,
It's fine.
so you can go through and get your. You want to stay there for a minute? This is really good stuff.
I'm a little curious what's happening.
All right.
Lord, don't say anything.
All right. So let's talk. So the game encourages. Pick up.
The game encourages the child to stay calm and control their heart rate because you get rewards if you are calm for a certain amount of time. There's a heart rate meter, you get bonus treasure chests, you get extra coin collection, you get a higher score, and we're trying to lead the child to that conclusion on their own rather than telling them calm down. Because what happens when you tell a kid to calm down? They don't calm down. What happens when you tell anyone to calm down? They're not going to calm down. So you have to, in educational game design, really encourage someone and lead them to the answer and come to their own conclusions and find their own pathway to get there. And so just by the game reacting in a positive manner to a calm heart rate, it leads the child to learn the basic idea that, yeah, if I'm calm, if I take a deep breath and calm down, good things happen.
And that is a learnable trait.
It is a learnable trait. It's actually a learnable skill. And the idea is that you can't learn anything without feedback. And that's why you see someone who's deaf speak with that muffled tone. And that's also why you put mirrors in dance studios to give someone more feedback. And so biofeedback is just getting feedback from your biosignals so you can learn how to control them. It is clinically proven that you can learn how to control all sorts of biosignals. It was coined back in the 60s. So I went through it for overactive brainwaves. You can learn how to control blood pressure. There's biofeedback for a lot of subconscious autonomic activity that a lot of people think is science fiction. You can't learn how to control your heart rate, just like learning how to walk. Well, turns out you can if you have feedback to do so.
And you heard my question to Scott, so you got to prep it. But if you met the parents of young Erikas and young Scotts today who you were able to help, what would it mean to you and why?
Yeah, no, I heard the question. I didn't actually think of a good answer to that.
Now's your moment.
That was my moment.
No, you get a parent. You get a parent like your dad. Somebody who says, hey, this really helped my kid. Thanks.
Yeah, it would mean a lot if a parent were to come up and thank us one day, because that would mean we had made a difference in a child's life. And if we can make a difference in even one, if we can help a child sleep better at night the night before a test, or be more comfortable going to first grade, it just have a happier life, that would be the ultimate goal.
And I want to talk about self for a minute, but I don't want to get too far in the weeds. So there's more emphasis now on emotional education, official emphasis, money and measurement behind it. How does Sea Life potentially play into this new recognition of the importance of emotional development?
Sea Life really is an innovative technology solution for the social emotional learning domain. It is a tool that teaches you emotional intelligence and also tracks the analytics, which I think is a really impressive tool for academic leadership.
And so the story, Finn's the character. I mean, I know you may be developing this, but what's the story I'm going through with Finn? Am I looking for treasure in the ocean? What am I doing?
So Finn is swimming through an underwater environment, and he's collecting coins and avoiding obstacles. There are sea monsters and fish hooks, and at the end of every level you find a golden starfish. And the levels get harder as the game goes on. A good trait to a successful educational game is that it's easy to play but hard to master. So then Finn goes through and looks for more golden starfish in all these different environments, and we're still working on the story of exactly what he's doing with them.
But if a child, I want to be clear, if a child gets 1 or 2 levels but doesn't get the third, they may see it as a challenge, but they're not disappointed or worse off. They're better off, right? If
right.
They get right, it's an encouragement game.
It's an encouragement game. We're trying to encourage replayability, so you can go back and replay levels by having randomly spawning obstacles is a good trait in the game design. Sort of having things appear not it being the same way every time. I encourage you to go back and sort of explore again and see if you missed anything or see if new things come up. And then on the flip side of that, it might be kind of cool down the line if you get really good at a game and then you go back and play the first level again. A lot of times you're almost impressed with how good you are. Like, wow, that level's really easy. I remember that being really difficult. And so by the game being easy to play and hard to master, you get better without even realizing you're getting better. It's all about taking baby steps.
So if you look back at what biofeedback did for you, what do you hope biofeedback does from your own experience for kids who are like you today? Because there's probably, not Tourette's, but we talked about anxiety and depression, there are probably more kids who could benefit from biofeedback today than there were a generation ago. What's your hope for them with this game?
I hope that with the rising rates of anxiety, I hope that Sea Life becomes a tool that is more accessible for this larger audience. I hope that we make biofeedback, which I think is such a great solution to battle anxiety because there are no side effects. You're not taking any sort of medication. It's just a practice. And it can help so many people. We hope that Sea Life makes biofeedback both accessible and effective for school-age children.
And what about affordable? Is it affordable?
Accessible, yeah.
But is it affordable to the school? I don't want you to talk price here, but we're not talking something that's like flying to the moon, right? I mean, we're talking about it should be accessible to districts or even to home users. Yeah,
another really cool thing about Sea Life is clinicians are excited that Sea Life is exciting because it's a great proxy for clinical care. It's something you can do at home, it's a game, and it's the alternative to a very expensive practice that previously you could only do in a physician's office.
So and then there's one or two questions I'm going to ask to sort of, if we do a longer version for investors that's not really, so if I'm an investor, I want to make money, but if I can help kids too, that's like is that the goal here from a business perspective, sort of the double win of, a profit and making a difference?
Yeah. We all want to help kids, and Sea Life is a great way to do so. Not only is it profitable, I don't want to just outright say it's profitable.
Right. Not only is it effective.
Yes, not only is Sea Life effective, it's also a great business, and it's sustainable, and it's affordable for parents and schools, and it's helping children.
And that's the goal.
Helping children is the goal.
All right. Did I miss anything? Is there anything I should say? I saw Eileen nod approval twice, which means there were 2 sound bites that she heard that she liked.
2. All right.
I saw.
So you were saying you're working on the story of Finn. It would be, especially a 6-year-old audience, it would be really cool.
The story that we're playing with is that there was some sort of storm, and it kind of scattered a lot of things in Finn's town, and he has to go and find them. Another story that we're playing with, and we're looking at how it all fits in, kind of what has the most opportunity for growth, is that Finn has this special ability to see life in a different way. He has the ability to be very emotionally intelligent, very empathetic, and it almost allows him to be a better explorer. And in doing so, he's able to go and find things and really grow the environment for his friends and family.
I like that. Am I missing anything you'd like to add? You want to say something different? Scott, did you hear something you want to
I felt like it was good. It
You
touched
good?
on a lot of stuff. It was great.
Well, it takes a while to get us together, so you'll have 100 sound bites to look at. Or I don't mind looking through the sound bites, but just give me the bullet points. Rock, you good?
Yeah, I wasn't listening. I was outside with Coco.
I saw that. Yeah, we
Coco.
heard. Oh, here's Coco baby.
Coco!